Chapter 11 Foundation Building Seedlings and Candidates for Family Head. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother, I understand your desire to train the younger generation, but you have to consider the actual situation. How can those little bastards of the Dao generation afford a family base? The fourth elder Zhou Changyan said anxiously. The second elder Zhou Changping also nodded, and in a steady voice, he analyzed the pros and cons and said, "It is indeed too early." Among the younger generation, only Dao Bai has barely reached the late stage of qi refining, and I remember that he just broke through a few years ago. Without the old generation watching, with only a qi refining level 7 and a few qi refining level 6 kids, it is impossible to guard a first-level middle-grade spiritual vein. Since the failure of the breakthrough, the second elder Zhou Changping has been very low-key in the family. Apart from conscientiously hunting wild beasts, he almost no longer asks about other things. Today, he took the initiative to speak up because he was really worried that the head of the family would make a rash decision and bring bad influence to the family. Training the younger generation of the family is definitely something that every family attaches importance to. For example, in the Zhou family, when they reach the age of 20, they will be sent out to take charge of some family affairs. However, the tasks are generally simple and less dangerous, and even if there are mistakes, it will not affect the overall situation. However, a family residence with a first-level medium-grade spiritual vein involves many interests. It is natural that everyone is worried about leaving it in the hands of a group of children. Under the gaze of everyone, Zhou Changyi just drank a sip of tea calmly. Who said that there is only one junior in the late stage of refining in the clan? Oh. Is it possible that in addition to Dao Bai, there are other people who have broken through? An elder asked doubtfully. Zhou Changyi did not say much, not only raised his head, but also looked at the unknown Zhou Daoqing and Zhao Yunji in the crowd. Everyone followed his gaze and looked at the two of them. Zhou Daoqing instantly became the center of everyone's attention. He felt like a thorn in his back and couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Fortunately, Zhou Changyi continued to speak. Daoqing has successfully broken through and is now in the late stage of qi training. Although Yunji is not a member of our Zhou family, everyone knows her strength. It took Dao Bai longer to break through to the late stage of qi training. Hearing Zhou Changyi say this, the elders in the clan were also surprised and couldn't help but probe their spiritual senses to investigate. Hey, Daoqing has also broken through to the late stage of qi training. When did this happen? Looking at his restrained and steady aura, it is obvious that he has stabilized and has not just broken through. Daoqing, this kid, I have seen him since he was a child. He has already broken through to the late stage of qi training at the age of 21. This is more powerful than some double spiritual root geniuses. The fourth elder Zhou Changyan grinned and looked at Zhou Daoqing with great satisfaction. It is really amazing. Zhou Daoqing has always been calm and mature. He has been focusing on cultivation since he was a child. It is not flattery. As a family elder who watched Zhou Daoqing grow up, these are all heartfelt words. In a small Zhou family, if there is a foundation building seed, it is a great thing, and it is worth the family to spend a lot of resources to buy foundation building pills. Even if there is no financial resources to buy a foundation building island, if you can reach the 9th level of qi refining, you will at least be a family elder. After the joy, the topic returned to the arrangement of the station personnel. Although Zhou Daoqing's breakthrough brought a lot of surprises to everyone, it was still not enough for everyone to recognize the strength of several people, and more of them were puzzled. Brother, you should tell us your ideas. You are good at managing family affairs. But you have to tell us the reason, otherwise who can trust such a big stall to these children to guard it? Zhou Changyi nodded, no longer kept it a secret, and said, family inheritance is the top priority. His voice was calm and powerful, as heavy as a mountain, making everyone quiet down. Since the Zhou family was passed down to this day, the two most powerful people in the family are the clan leader and the head of the family. The clan leader is the person with the highest cultivation in the family. He is the family's mainstay and the foundation of the foundation building inheritance. The head of the family also serves as the chief elder and manages all family affairs, including clan member management, station arrangements, income and expenditure transactions, etc. For these two positions, people are often screened as early as possible. that is, foundation-building seeds and candidates for the head of the family. At this point, most people have understood in their hearts and are silent. Zhou Changyi stroked his beard and said with emotion, I am over 80 years old, and my third uncle is over 130 years old. It's time to prepare for the future. Hearing this, everyone's face showed a solemnity, and the atmosphere became suppressed. These news are not top secret, most people in the clan know it, but they don't think about it normally. Now that it is suddenly mentioned, they suddenly realize that the clan leader and the head of the family are already old and are not far from the end of their lives, and they can't help but feel a layer of haze in their hearts. The second elder Zhou Changping's face showed even more grief. If it was according to the original expectation, he should have broken through the foundation-building period and succeeded the position of clan leader from the third uncle, but because of his failure, the family inheritance became precarious. Zhou Changyi just sighed a little, then returned to a serious expression, and said in a powerful voice, So I plan to select a few good younger generations from the Dao generation to prepare for future inheritance. There are 4 candidates in total, Dao Bai, Dao Qi, Dao Qing, and Yunji. Dao Bai and Dao Qing are both stable, considerate, and talented. Their realm has been stabilized at the 7th level of practice. In my opinion, they are both very good candidates. Daqi has excellent talent in the art of weapon refining. He has been taught by the clan leader since he was a child. Now he has reached the first level of high-grade weapon refiner and is proficient in merchants. He is also a good choice. Upon hearing the names of these 3 people, everyone nodded slightly. Zhou Daoqing also knows that among the Tao generation in the family, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai and the 4th brother Zhou Daoqi have always been the most valued juniors, and they are quite talented in cultivation and weapon refining respectively. Now that he has made a breakthrough, although his status has improved, he is still a little behind compared to the 2. But what Zhou Changyi said next made everyone frown. There is also this girl Zhao Yunji. It is obvious to everyone that she has the talent of dual spirit roots. Her strength has reached the late stage of the 7th level of Qi refining and is not far from the 8th level of Qi refining. This is still under the situation that the Zhao family is short of resources. If there are resources, a breakthrough can be achieved. It's not difficult to be gay. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted. The head of the family, Dao Bai, Dao Qi and Dao Qing are the 3 of us. Everyone has no objection, but Miss Zhao is not a member of my Zhou family after all. Do you? Zhou Changyi's expression remained unchanged. Since you married Dao Qing, you are a member of my Zhou family. This. Zhou Changyi didn't say much and just made arrangements for himself. I plan to let the 4 of them manage an industry respectively to see who is more capable. Finally, I will personally determine the foundation building seeds and family heads. Dao Bai, Dao Qing, and Yunji will head to the new station. Each will occupy a small island and can choose their own development direction. Chapter 12 I will assist you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have asked someone to estimate that according to normal standards, the net income that a small island can bring in a year is about 1,000 spirit stones, but my requirement for you is 1,300 spirit stones. As for how to earn these spirit stones, it is something you need to consider yourself. My requirement is that you must hand in 1,300 low-grade spirit stones at the end of each year. If there are any extra, you can accumulate the remaining spirit stones, whether to buy resources for cultivation or continue to purchase industries, but I will make a comprehensive judgment on your abilities after 3 years. The same goes for you, Zhao Yunji. Although you are not a member of my Zhou family, I will also give you this opportunity, but the judging standard will be higher than that of others. I hope you are prepared. Zhao Yunji was not very excited, but thought about these words seriously, frowning slightly. Finally, there is Dodge. From now on, you will be responsible for managing the Zhou family's 100 equipment pavilion. The standard is also 1,300 spirit stones. After 3 years, you 3 will be comprehensively evaluated. When all the requirements were said, the clansmen stopped talking. Since the head of the family has arranged everything, it means that it is not a spur-of-the-moment decision. but has been carefully considered. Zhou Changyi has been the head of the family for decades, and everyone knows his character. If he makes such a decision, it is definitely not something that others can easily change, and more importantly, when everyone carefully tasted Zhou Changyi's arrangement, they found that it was not so difficult to accept, especially on the point of Zhao Yunji. Everyone was worried before whether Zhou Changyi would really give her the foundation building quota. But after just listening to the rules, there was no such concern. First of all, the final comprehensive judgment is entirely determined by Zhou Changyi's subjective consciousness. Could he really leave the Zhou family and choose an outsider? In essence, among these four people, Zhou Daoqing and Zhao Yunji are naturally at a disadvantage. Zhou Daobai, the eldest of the Dao generation, has the widest network of resources, and the fifth elder Zhou Changhai is his grandfather, and the seventh elder Zhou Shurong is his uncle. The resources he has are far beyond the reach of others. Zhou Daoqi, the most talented weapon refiner of this generation in the family, this title alone is enough to bring him a huge advantage. For a family, letting a clan member with immortal cultivation skills break through the foundation building period will definitely bring greater value. After breaking through to the foundation building period, there is a high probability that he will become a second-level weapon refiner, and he will have a longer lifespan and can continue to bring a lot of wealth to the family. Therefore, Zhou Changyi also had his own selfish motives in arranging Zhou Daoqi, arranging him in the shop in Sifang Market. The net income of Zhou's Baiqi Pavilion in a year is definitely more than 1,300 spirit stones, and it is likely to be more than 1,500, and there is a lot of oil and water. And the income is very stable. There are also family elders who stay in the shop all year round to support. With their help, Zhou Daoqi naturally has a huge advantage and almost no possibility of losing. After thinking carefully and figuring it out, everyone already understood what the head of the family meant. Such an arrangement actually showed Zhou Changyi's attitude. Zhou Daoqi and Zhou Daobai were actually the ones he preferred. Zhao Yunji was clear-headed. Although she knew that she didn't have much chance, she still accepted it calmly. For her, even if she couldn't get the chance to break through the foundation, this opportunity was of great significance. At least it gave her the opportunity to work hard and a way to obtain cultivation resources. As long as she developed well enough, she could accumulate a lot of resources. Thinking of this, Zhao Yunji suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Zhou family patriarch's means are really amazing. Giving oneself an illusory hope not only makes oneself more identified with the Zhou family, but also makes oneself willing to make money for the Zhou family and hone other children in the family. It really kills three birds with one stone. The ancestor worship just ended. Zhou Daoqing received the official notice from the patriarch. Within 3 days, set off for Balan Lake immediately. Balan Lake is the name of this new settlement. It has been completely divided into one of the Zhou family settlements, and named Balan Lake according to its specialty white-scaled perch. Looking at the notification letter in his hand, Zhou Daoqing felt that the world was unpredictable. He had just settled down for a short time, and he had to start running again, but on second thought, this matter has 100 benefits and no harm. Balan Island is far away from Tianqi Mountain, about half a month's journey, and it is in the depths of uninhabited and undeveloped wilderness, and the location is more hidden, full of security. At that time, just find a small island to settle down, whether it is planting purple air green spirit bamboo or arranging a gathering spirit formation to assist in cultivation. There is no need to worry about being discovered. As for the four-person competition, others can't see through the head of the family, but he sees it clearly. No matter how hard he tries, he will definitely not get the chance to build the foundation. As for the position of the head of the family, looking at the head of the family working day and night and looking old before his time, you know this is not a good job. It's too late to hide, so how can you rush to work like a slave? When Zhou Daoqing was thinking, a smiling voice suddenly sounded, "Sixth brother, you will soon become a competitor. Do you have any plans? Let me steal them." Brother Daobai. Zhou Daoqing also smiled and shook his head helplessly. "Brother, your method of stealing intelligence is to just ask directly. Ha ha ha, isn't it very clever?" Zhou Daobai laughed heartily and put his arm around his shoulders affectionately, without any unfamiliarity at all. The Zhou family is a small family with only a few members, so the relationship between the younger generations is very close, almost like full brothers. Although it is a competition, where can we compete? They are all working hard for the family inheritance. the two chatted and laughed for a while, and Zhou Daobai suddenly became serious and asked, Daoqing, tell me honestly, do you also want to compete for the qualifications to build a foundation? Zhou Daoqing was stunned for a moment and replied, Brother, why did you say this? Zhou Daobai sighed and said helplessly, I'm just worried that fighting for a foundation building qualification will ruin the friendship between brothers. I don't know what the head of the family thinks, but, ugh. After hearing this, Zhou Daoqing smiled and comforted, Brother, don't worry, there is no suspense about who this foundation establishment pill will eventually belong to. How do I say this? As a weapon refiner, fourth brother's cultivation talent is as good as ours, so he must be the most suitable candidate. I guess this is also what the family elders mean. Hearing what Zhou Daoqing said, Zhou Daoqing did not show any doubts. Instead, he breathed a long sigh of relief and said with a smile. It turns out that you see it so clearly. It's useless for me to worry about it, brother. But don't be discouraged. Although there is no hope for the foundation establishment pill, you will be the head of the family. Brother Daobai will personally assist you, and you will definitely be able to develop the family. Grow. Hearing what Zhou Daobai said, Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but feel a little moved in his heart. This is the friendship in the family, simple and pure. Chapter 13 Arrival at White Scale Lake. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Daoqing quickly refused, Brother, please don't. Even if the foundation establishment pill is gone, you still want me to be the head of the family? Isn't this purely punishing me? I don't want to do such a thankless job. After possessing the formation inheritance, the Wu Tu Kun Yugong, and the daily menstruation, Zhou Daoqing no longer has any obsession with the number of foundation building pills in his family. With his ability, as long as he develops smoothly in the future, he can definitely accumulate spiritual stones and buy foundation building pills, but it will only be a matter of time. Huh? What are you talking about? That while they were chatting, a chubby face stretched out, with round eyes. Fourth brother, why are you here too? Seeing that you were having a private meeting, I came over to join in and see if I could spy on the information. Zhou Daoqing was speechless. Co-writing is a virtue. Snapped. Zhou Daobai was even more direct, and slapped Zhou Daoqi on the forehead. What kind of private meeting? Do you know how to talk? Daoqing has a family, be careful that your brothers and sisters will beat you. Zhou Daoqi looked aggrieved and rubbed the back of his head with deep resentment. Brother, stop shooting, I still rely on my brain to refine weapons. Zhou Daobai glanced at him and said, Speaking of weapon refining, I suddenly remembered that you still want to give me a first-class high-grade magic weapon. When do you plan to give it to me? Oh, it will take some time. The store has been very busy recently and I really don't have time to do personal work. Zhou Daoqi honestly said that although he was proficient in the ways of a merchant, his tact in the business world had not been brought to life. He was a simple and honest person in the clan and was very popular. You have to take care of your brother. Zhou Daobai did not rush him. He knew that the family shop had a heavy workload, and Zhou Daoqi, as a weapon refiner, must be very busy on weekdays. They could only chat for a few more words and discuss their cultivation experiences before they each returned to their residences. After all, the family leader's notice has been issued, and they must rush to the station as soon as possible without delay. Just return to the yard. Zhou Daoqing saw his grandfather Zhou Xuanhuan standing in the yard, looking at the purple spirit bamboo with cautious eyes. Seeing this scene, Zhou Daoqing secretly thought that it was not good. The purple spirit green bamboo was placed in the yard. Firstly, it was not covered by the formation, and secondly, it could not be transplanted casually. It was too conspicuous. Daoqing, this is Bai Lingzhu. Zhou Yonghan looked at the purple chi jade spirit bamboo and noticed that it was very unusual. The aura it revealed had reached the peak of the first-order high-grade bamboo, and was only one step away from the second-order heavenly material and earthly treasure. As an experienced family elder, he could vaguely notice that the green bamboo in front of him was very different from ordinary green bamboo. Seeing this situation, Zhou Daoqing knew that he couldn't hide it, so he made an excuse at random. Grandpa, this is the Bai Ling bamboo that I bought before, but it seems to have mutated. It broke through to the first level of top grade overnight, and its appearance it has become quite mysterious, but my grandson doesn't know much about Lingji and doesn't know the reason. Zhou Xuanhuan listened without doubting that he was there. He frowned slightly and thought for a moment before saying, "It has indeed mutated. It is of better quality than the ordinary first-grade high-grade Bailing bamboo. It should be a trace of spirituality." Spirituality? What do you mean? Zhou Changyuan stroked his beard. The treasures of heaven and earth grow in nature, absorbing the essence of heaven and earth, and soaking in the brilliance of the sun and moon. It is inevitable that they will be contaminated with a trace of spirituality, thus breaking through their original qualities and becoming powerful spiritual objects of heaven and earth. It seems that you are very lucky. In such an environment with thin spiritual energy, you can actually encounter a spiritual plant that breeds spiritual energy. It is really a great opportunity. Zhou Changyuan couldn't help but lament that the chance of encountering such a thing was not even 1 in a billion, and in the end, his grandson happened to catch up with him. Zhou Changyuan turned his head, put away the emotion on his face, and said quite cautiously, "Daoqing, the quality of Bailing bamboo was not low in the first place. Now that it has become spiritual, the quality has improved to a higher level. It is a great treasure of heaven and earth. Remember not to leave it outside. Show yourself in front of others, so as not to attract people's attention. My grandson remembers it and must try to hide it as much as possible." Zhou Daoqing nodded obediently. If he couldn't hide it, he wouldn't even let his grandfather know, let alone other people. "By the way, Grandpa, I plan to bring the Bailing bamboo with me to Balan Lake this time, but I'm worried that the roots will be damaged during the transplantation process." Transplanted to Balan Lake. Zhou Changyuan thought for a while, nodded in approval. "It's okay to take it with you. You will be stationed at Balan Lake for the next few years, and you rarely have time to come back. Take everything you need to bring with you." Well. As for the transplantation method, Grandpa doesn't know how to transplant spiritual plants, so it's better to try another method. With that said, Zhou Changyuan took out a delicate and compact bag from his arms. "Storage bag?" Zhou Daoqing said in surprise. "Hey, you kid is quite discerning, take it, it was originally prepared for you." He threw the storage bag over. Zhou Daoqing grabbed it excitedly. Although this was just a first-class low-grade storage bag with an interior size of only 5 feet square, 1 foot is almost equal to 33.33 centimeters, the price was really not cheap. On the market, the cheapest first-level low-grade storage bag costs more than 100 low-grade spiritual stones. It is difficult for ordinary monks to afford it unless they are rich in assets. Even if Zhou Changyuan, as the elder of the family, wants to buy a storage bag with his salary, it will take a lot of time to accumulate. "Thank you, Grandpa." Zhou Daoqing thanked him excitedly. With the storage bag in the future, many things will be more convenient. It will be much easier to transplant Bailing bamboo next. Put the whole green bamboo, along with all the bamboo roots, bamboo shoots and soil, into the storage bag to prevent the roots from being destroyed. In addition to the green bamboo, Zhou Daoqing didn't need to carry much. He carried important things with him, such as the Array Inheritance and the Sun and Moon Sutra, and the Spirit Stones were also carried with him. The rest were only daily clothes and daily necessities, as well as dozens of jars of Xuanhuan wine, some of which were stuffed into the storage bag and some were carried with him. The Xuanhuan grass in the yard was not yet mature, so it was not very valuable and not very convenient to carry. "I simply bought a pack of seeds and waited to go to Balan Island to plant it again." After doing all this, Zhao Yunji almost packed up, and the two quickly set off. The journey was very long, and he rented 2 swift horses from the family. After driving for more than half a month, he barely reached Balan Lake. There were many monsters on the road. Although they were all first level, they brought some trouble and reduced the speed of travel. Seeing the vast lake hidden in the mountains not far away, Zhou Daoqing finally showed a relaxed smile. "I really didn't expect that in the endless wilderness and deep mountains, there is such a suitable lake spiritual vein hidden. My Zhou family is blessed. It is indeed a good place. If an ordinary small family finds it, it will definitely be able to develop." Zhao Yunji commented calmly with a cold expression, "This place is hidden, and there are no powerful monsters around, nor powerful immortal cultivation families and forces. Various living resources are also very sufficient, enough to support the development of a qi refining family." Chapter 14, Setting up the Spirit Gathering Array. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even if it is the Zhou family, owning this spiritual vein will increase their income in the future, and more importantly, deepen the family's foundation. Zhou Daoqing explored the surroundings and found that the three sides of Balan Lake were surrounded by mountains. Only the northern forest had a road leading to Balan Lake, which was the road the two took when they came outside the northern forest. Near the west, there is a very large wetland with a large number of green-winged herons. On the shore of Balan Lake, there are 4 or 5 small boats, only the size of 2 or 3 people, with a small and neat Zhou engraved on the oars. When the head of the family came to check in advance, he brought a group of clansmen with him, but they were not cultivators, but some mortals in the clan. Although Zhou Daoqing and the other two were asked to manage Balan Lake, it was impossible for them to do everything by themselves. Their main task was still cultivation, and at most they needed to control the development direction of the island. When the head of the family issued the task to the 3 people, he had already set the rules. If clansmen were needed to help, they could be hired at the market price. Among the 3, Zhao Yunji and Zhou Daobai asked for more than a dozen people for daily servants and simple tasks such as planting and harvesting. Only Zhou Daoqing did not ask for any help. After all, from the beginning, he used the excuse of coming to Balan Lake to try to find a place that was hidden enough to develop secretly. He had too many secrets to hide, whether it was the purple air green spirit bamboo, the Wu-Tu Kun Yugong he practiced, or the array inheritance, they were not suitable for outsiders to know. Besides, he did not plan to plant too many crops. According to the requirements of the head of the family, 1,300 spirit stones need to be handed in every year, and he only needs to complete this indicator. Zhou Daoqing found a small boat, said goodbye to Zhao Yunji, and rode directly to the island in the distance. As early as when he was in Tianqi Mountain, the ownership of the 3 islands had been allocated. Zhou Daoqing chose the island with the worst conditions, the smallest area, the least number of spirit fields, and relatively poor resources, but the only advantage was that the location was relatively remote. The other 2 islands are in the central area of Balan Lake. Not only is the terrain very flat and vast, but the surrounding fishery resources are also very rich, and the overall quality is much higher. Only the island chosen by Zhou Daoqing is close to the southernmost part of Balan Lake, very close to the mountains on the edge, and the location is very remote. However, this also meets Zhou Daoqing's needs. For Zhou Daoqing's choice, both the head of the family and the eldest brother Zhou Daobai are 10,000 incomprehensible. Zhou Daobai privately approached him, wanting to run out of the richer central island, but Zhou Daoqing had a tough attitude and directly rejected this good intention. He really has no interest in competing for the foundation building quota and the position of the head of the family. In his opinion, the eldest brother Zhou Daobai is definitely the most suitable candidate for the family. He is kind, knows how to consider the overall situation when thinking about problems, and is also shrewd and cunning. He is excellent in all aspects, otherwise the elders of the family would not value him so much. As for himself, it is safer to hide behind and slowly improve his strength. Not long after, Zhou Daoqing rowed a boat to his own island. The surrounding environment is extremely beautiful. Not far away are towering mountains, which are reflected in the water, which is green and refreshing. The island is about 16 acres, which is not large in area, but the terrain is very flat. There are 8 acres of natural first-level low-grade spiritual fields, but there are no first-level medium-grade spiritual fields. The 3 islands together have a total of 30 acres of first-level low-grade spiritual fields and 2 acres of first-level medium-grade spiritual fields, but most of them are distributed on the other 2 islands. After walking around the island, I found that these 8 acres of spiritual fields are close together, concentrated on the north side of the island. This is mainly because the spiritual vein is in the center of the lake, which is the north side of the island. The shapes of these spiritual fields are not regular and cannot be used directly at present. They need to be adjusted manually before they can be cultivated normally. In the south of the island, there is a slightly raised hill with little undulations. It barely forms a relatively flat valley, which is just suitable for settling. After clearing the weeds and trees around, Zhou Daoqing kept everything simple and built a simple residence for cultivation, which only had a kitchen, bedroom, and cultivation room, as well as a cellar of considerable size for storing moon wine. Then the first thing he did was to quickly take out the purple air green bamboo, find a fertile soil near the cultivation room, and replant it, because it was well protected. And the quality of the purple air green bamboo itself was high. It was not damaged too much, but its breath was slightly weaker. After replanting, it will probably recover in no time. Next, Zhou Daoqing should consider the future development of the island. After all, earning 1,300 low-grade spirit stones a year is not an easy task. If you just plant the first-grade low-grade spirit valley, the annual income will certainly not be that high, and you may not even have a net income of 500 spirit stones. Zhou Daoqing thought about it and found that almost all first-grade low-grade spirit plants could not earn 1,300 spirit stones in a year. With a helpless sigh, he understood the master's idea. Since the goal of 1,300 a year was set, it meant that he could not follow the routine and had to find other ways to make money on the basis of planting spiritual plants. For example, he could process the spiritual plants again to increase their value and sell them for a higher profit, and Zhou Daoqing happened to have a valuable economic crop in his hands, Xuanhuan grass. If it can be planted in a first-grade medium-quality spiritual field, the yield of Xuanhuan grass per mu can reach 500 jin, and it can brew 50 jin of Xuanhuan wine, which is worth 250 low-grade spiritual stones. In 2 seasons a year, that 1 mu of spiritual field can produce 500 low-grade spiritual stones, and 8 mu is 4,000 spiritual stones, far exceeding the goals set by the head of the family. But the biggest problem now is that he doesn't have 8 mu of good quality first-grade medium-quality spiritual fields. In the final analysis, it is still necessary to solve the problem from the formation. If the spirit-gathering formation is arranged, then everything is not a problem. Zhou Daoqing also sighed. The skills of cultivating immortals are really amazing, and the problems that ordinary cultivators can't solve with all their efforts can be easily solved in front of the formation master. After thinking about it, Zhou Daoqing no longer hesitated. The way to solve all problems is to start with the formation, especially the spirit-gathering formation. After settling down, Zhou Daoqing officially began to learn the formation, the vast amount of knowledge and the complicated and tedious process. Even though he had a high level of comprehension and his mental power far exceeded that of other cultivators, he still had a splitting headache. It took him 3 days to barely memorize all the key points of arranging the spirit-gathering array. 7 days later, he arranged it for the first time. The materials for arranging the array had been purchased before when he was in the family, and it cost 50 low-grade spirit stones, which was not a small number. So during the refining process, Zhou Daoqing was as careful as possible, for fear that mistakes would destroy the entire set of array materials. Chapter 15. Brother, who do you think is good? You are listening at novelfull.audio. During the first layout, the process went smoothly, but in the final finishing stage, due to the slight difference in orientation, the formation communication was not smooth, and all previous efforts were wasted. Some of the materials were slightly damaged, but the core materials were still intact and a second attempt was possible. After another 3 days of study, Zhou Daoqing kept every process and step in mind, and only after making sure that everything was foolproof, did he start his second attempt. With the experience of the first failure, I am more careful this time. We don't dare to be careless during the process. We try our best to ensure the position of every piece of material, and ensure that there are no slight gaps, and it has been inspected many times. Just setting up the formation took up a day and a night. Zhou Daoqing devoted himself wholeheartedly to it. His chest pressed against his back because of hunger, but the final result did not disappoint. In the early morning of the second day, the layout of this first-order low-grade spirit-gathering array was finally completed. As the formation was activated, it just covered an acre of spiritual field. The invisible force absorbed the spiritual energy from all directions, forming a pale white mist that enveloped the surroundings, like a fairyland. After only a quarter of an hour, the spiritual energy within the formation range increased by more than 10%. 2 hours later, the increase in spiritual energy reached its maximum, rising by 2.5 levels. Under this concentration of spiritual energy, not only will the cultivation speed be much faster, but the rich spiritual energy will also Warm and nourish the spiritual field, gradually nurturing it into a first-order mid-grade. The crops grown in the spiritual fields will also increase their growth speed to a certain extent with the blessing of rich spiritual energy. In addition, the spirit gathering array also has a hidden function, that is, the monsters living around will be attracted by the unusually rich spiritual energy and approach the area of the spirit gathering array. However, there are no powerful wild monsters around the island, so don't worry too much. Instead, there are many white-scaled bass in the lake. They might be attracted to them and bring a wave of wealth with them, which would be an unexpected surprise. Looking at the spirit gathering array, Zhou Daoqing was very satisfied. A set of spirit gathering array materials is worth 50 low-grade spirit stones, but the value it can create is far more than 50 spirit stones. No wonder the world of immortal cultivation has a high regard for the skills of cultivating immortals. It seems reasonable to attach such importance to it. However, Zhou Daoqing is still a little dissatisfied with his success rate. After all, the formation materials are very expensive. The first level low grade requires 50 spirit stones. If it is accidentally damaged, it will be really distressing. We need to practice more, try our best to increase the success rate in the early stage, and lay a solid foundation so that we can go further in the future. Zhou Daoqing secretly made up his mind, but he didn't know how many array mages would be stunned by his learning speed. The vast majority of formation masters, even with the guidance of a master, find it difficult to learn it in a short period of time, and it is even less possible for them to successfully set up a spirit gathering formation in just 2 attempts. Many people even need several years of continuous practice just to memorize the tedious steps in the formation arrangement process. Perhaps this is a natural gap in understanding. With the experience of setting up the spirit gathering formation for the first time, it will be easier to learn other formations in the future. However, if you want to continue to arrange more formations, you need to purchase formation materials. Baihefang Lake is located deep in the mountains, its location is too remote and it is too far away from Tianqi Mountain, so it is impossible to go back in a short time. Thinking about it, Zhou Daoqing took out a nearby map and after checking it carefully, he found that the closest city to Baihefang Lake was Baihefang City, which was almost half a month away. The journey is still too far, so I'd better practice for a while first and then think about other things after I settle down. Zhou Daoqing made arrangements in his mind. After planting all 8 acres of spiritual fields with moonflower grass, he entered the spiritual fields covered by the spirit gathering array to practice. Tianqi Mountain, the majestic family meeting hall. Brother, is the task you set for Dao Bai and the others too high? A full 1,300 low-grade spiritual stones. Is it very high? What do you think is appropriate? Zhou Changyi looked at a stack of scrolls with a calm expression. I think 1,000 spirit stones is enough. It's pretty easy at Daoqi. After all, the shop has been run by the family for many years and the income is pretty stable. As long as nothing happens, it's not a problem to earn 1,700 to 1,900 spirit stones every year. But Dao Bai Daoqing there. As he spoke, 5th Elder Zhou Changhai suddenly lowered his voice and asked, Brother, I know you are optimistic about Dodge, but there is no need to deliberately suppress Daoqing and Dao Bai, right? Snort. That there was a cold snort. Zhou Changyi glanced sideways, and said coldly, as the elder of the family, do you have to gossip behind your back and affect the unity of the family? Zhou Changhai was shocked. The big brother in front of him was much older than him. He had watched him grow up as a father and brother, and he was in awe of him, but this time, he did not flinch, but continued to frown. Brother, don't blame me for speaking harshly, but your behavior this time is indeed too biased. If you are optimistic about Dodge, directly give him the opportunity to build the foundation that is, there is no need to tease other juniors. If there is any resentment in my heart, I'm afraid. The owner of the family, Zhou Changyi, interrupted directly and said, do you think the Dodger is my favorite? It's not just me, many elders in the family can see it. After all, brother, your actions are too obvious. Hearing this, Zhou Changyi put down the thick scroll in his hand, raised his eyes to look at Zhou Changhai, and said word by word, the ownership of the Zhou family's foundation building quota has indeed been determined, but the candidate has never been Dodger. If it's not Dodge, who is that? Dao Bai? Zhou Changyi did not answer, but commented, Daoqi is a good kid, with outstanding talent in refining weapons, and he is shrewd and smooth. Although he is a bit mercenary, he is also very ruthless. He is a good candidate to be a family head. That makes sense. Dao Bai has some ambition, is kind and generous, and has some scheming and means, but lacks some edge and likes to hide things. That makes sense. Dao Bai is too stable, but he is still not bad. Zhou Changhai nodded in approval. Dao Qing. This kid was not originally in my plan. His methods are not as good as Daoqi's, and his character and talent are not as good as Dao Bai's. Except for his more stable personality, there is nothing too eye-catching. I just didn't expect. He suddenly broke through the late stage of qi refining. It seems that he has worked hard on weekdays. Indeed, Dao Qing also works hard. Zhou Changyi. What's wrong, big brother, why are you looking at me with squinting eyes? Zhou Changyi slapped the back of the 5 old men's heads. You old thing thinks everyone is good, don't you have your own ideas? Fifth elder Zhou Changhai's mouth twitched, then who do you think is good, big brother? Chapter 16 Spiritual Spring Eye. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Changyi pondered for a moment, his eyes became deep, and he said, Changhai, there is no need to ask so clearly, you just need to know that the first person of the Dao generation, has long been destined. Has long been destined? Zhou Changhai was thoughtful, as if he had thought of something, and an inexplicable look appeared in his eyes. Brother, although I don't understand it very well, I believe you must have your own plan. But I still want to say that Dao Qing is the least advantageous. Will he have a chance? Yes, and it has been given to him. Zhou Changyi's eyes were deep, and there was a wave of excitement. Dao Qing himself may not be enough, but if the girl of the Zhou family is willing to assist him sincerely, then it doesn't matter if this foundation-building quota is given to him. After saying this, the 5th elder Zhou Changhai was instantly enlightened and understood his eldest brother's idea. Whether it is Zhou Daoqing or Zhao Yunji, they are at an absolute disadvantage if they fight alone, but there is a way for them to win, that is Zhao Yunji is willing to give up her own interests and help Zhou Daoqing to the end. Without this kind of ideological awareness, even if she is very talented, what use is there for the Zhou family? This may be the test that Zhou Changyi is hiding in the dark. However, even if Zhou Changyi thinks he has made every possible plan, he could not have imagined that this small test would open up the road to revival for the family for hundreds of years in the future. White Scale Lake, Zhou Daoqing was covered with earthy yellow magic power, and the milky white spiritual energy surrounded him, which was engulfed into his body, filled every meridian, and flowed lightly. The rich spiritual energy in the spirit gathering array was gradually transformed into Wu Earth spiritual power, like a compacted city wall, becoming heavier and thicker. Suddenly, Zhou Daoqing frowned slightly, slowly gathered the spiritual energy around him, and looked around in confusion. What's going on? There is something wrong with the spiritual energy around. That just when he was practicing, he could clearly sense that there was a rich spiritual energy underground, which spread under the influence of the spirit gathering array and slowly gathered around. This spiritual energy is very pure, but extremely weak, and ordinary cultivators can hardly detect it. If he was not the controller of the formation, and his mental power was also extremely strong, he would not have discovered it at all. After a careful feeling, Zhou Daoqing once again confirmed his idea that there was indeed pure spiritual energy fluctuating underground. He once again activated the Wu Tu Kun Yugong and used the magic power of the earth attribute to explore in the direction where the spiritual energy came from underground. A quarter of an hour later, Zhou Daoqing stepped away and came to an inconspicuous location on the island. Looking at the ground with deep eyes, then, without saying a word, he took out a first-level low-grade magic weapon and began to dig on the ground. Under the sword light and shadow, the soil and rock splashed, and soon a huge pit was dug out. After a slight perception, the pure spiritual energy that he felt before was indeed a bit richer. Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but show joy. It's true, that if his guess is correct, there may be a big harvest today. When the excavation depth reached 10 feet, there was no need to sense it. With the naked eye, one could see the pure spiritual energy, which turned into wisps of pale white mist floating in the soil. Such a rich and pure spiritual energy, almost reaching the first grade upper grade, right? Zhou Daoqing looked overjoyed and could not help but speed up his movements, and the magic weapon in his hand left a residual image. When the depth reached 25 feet, the soil underneath suddenly loosened and fell into the deep pit below. Zhou Daoqing saw this and jumped away quickly, using the magic weapon to cling to the cave wall next to him. He took out a first-grade lower-grade luminous stone and explored the inside. After confirming that there was no danger, he jumped in. With the light, it can be seen that this is an extremely deep underground cave, surrounded by a relatively solid soil layer, and a cavity of more than 30 square meters has been formed inside. As soon as he walked in, Zhou Daoqing could feel the extremely rich spiritual energy. Looking in the direction of the spiritual energy, he saw a clear spring 1 foot square, gurgling with liquid full of spiritual energy. This is a spiritual spring eye. Zhou Daoqing exclaimed, and after being stunned for a few seconds, surprise instantly climbed all over his face, and he walked forward quickly. Only then did he realize that this was not only an extremely precious spiritual spring eye, but also of the second-level lower quality. The spring water flowing in it was all spiritual spring liquid of the second level, containing extremely rich spiritual energy and extremely pure. With Zhou Daoqing's cultivation, drinking a sip was enough to replenish all mana in a short time, which was better than the effect of elixirs, and there was no elixir poison. This was not the first time Zhou Daoqing had come into contact with a spiritual spring eye like this, so he knew its value very well. On Tianqi Mountain, there is a Tianqi with a diameter of dozens of feet. The spring water in it is full of spiritual energy. Almost all of the spiritual fields of the Zhou family are irrigated by the water of this Tianqi, so the ancestral land of the Zhou family is called Tianqi Mountain. However, Tianqi itself is not a spiritual spring. The real spiritual spring is in the mountain behind Tianqi. It is said that it is a first-grade top-grade spiritual spring several feet square. It continuously flows out rich spiritual springs and flows into the Tianqi in front. After being diluted by ordinary spring water, it forms the Tianqi that nurtures the Zhou family. For the entire Zhou family, the value of this spiritual spring is not inferior to that of a foundation-building strongman, and it is even more valuable. At this time, Zhou Daoqing looked at the second-grade spiritual spring in front of him, and his heart was excited beyond words. Although the quality of this spiritual spring is only the lower grade of the second level, which is not as good as the one on Tianqi Mountain, its value is definitely more than tens of thousands of spiritual stones. If it is sold to a cultivation family or other forces, the price will only be higher. For a qi refining family, once they have this spiritual spring, it is almost equivalent to opening the way to a foundation-building family. It is no exaggeration to say that this spiritual spring in front of them is enough to breed a huge foundation-building force. Zhou Daoqing's eyes flickered, calmed down the excitement in his heart, walked forward and looked at it carefully. After a closer look, he found that at the bottom of this spiritual spring, there was a small channel as thick as 2 fingers, which seemed to lead directly to the lake, transporting the rich spiritual liquid to the outside world. However, Zhou Daoqing overturned this idea after a second thought. If the spiritual liquid leads to the lake water, it will not form a spiritual vein, but merge with the lake water to form a pool of spiritual water similar to that in Tianqi. Since the spiritual vein has been formed, it means that the spiritual liquid flowing out must have flowed directly into the soil layer at the bottom of the lake, thus forming a tangible spiritual vein. The spiritual vein of Tianqi Mountain was also formed in this way. I really didn't expect that I chose the most remote island, but it turned out to be the source of this spiritual vein. Zhou Daoqing exclaimed excitedly, with both surprise and helplessness on his face. His own blessing was indeed amazing. In fact, not all spiritual veins are formed by spiritual springs. This is an extremely rare phenomenon, and the number of spiritual springs is more precious than imagined. Most spiritual veins, especially first-level spiritual veins, are formed by the accumulation and precipitation of rich spiritual energy in a natural environment. They are generally tangible but not condensed, and may be exhausted if used excessively. The same is true for most second-level spiritual veins, except that the gathered spiritual energy is more concentrated and of higher quality. Only a small number of spiritual veins have sources like spiritual springs. Chapter 17, Qi Training Level 7 Midterm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Any spiritual vein with a spiritual spring will have a value that will increase several times. Once it is leaked in the cultivation world, it will inevitably be fought over by various forces, and the third-level spiritual veins must have a source, which may be a spiritual spring or a spiritual stone vein. The situation is different, so the value also increases exponentially. Only a powerful purple mansion force like Qing Shan sect can control it. For Zhou Daoqing, the second-level spiritual spring is already priceless, and the third-level spiritual stone vein is naturally unthinkable. However, looking at the spring in front of him, Zhou Daoqing fell into deep thought. This matter is very important, enough to enhance the family's foundation. Should I tell the family? That after thinking again and again, Zhou Daoqing decided to hide it. The development of the family is important, but his own improvement is also indispensable. Moreover, although he is a member of the Zhou family, he has inherited Zhou Daoqing's memory and has a very deep affection for the family, but no matter what, his soul is finally traveling through time and space, and he thinks more about his own interests, so after considering for a while, Zhou Daoqing decided to use this spiritual spring as his secret cave for cultivation. Owning this spiritual spring is enough to provide him with a huge amount of wealth, help him improve his strength quickly, and then he can also give back to the family. After making the decision, Zhou Daoqing returned to the island and buried the traces of excavation to prevent outsiders from discovering the abnormality. Then, he demolished his original residence and moved to the entrance of the spiritual spring, hiding the cave entrance inside the house. Not only that, even in the house he built a secret door. If there is no special guidance, it is impossible to find this entrance and exit. In addition, it is necessary to replant the purple air green spirit bamboo that has just been planted. The spiritual energy on the island is too thin, only the first grade inferior, which is not enough to maintain the growth of the purple air green spirit bamboo. Transplanting to the vicinity of the spiritual spring will be of great benefit to future growth, and the newly grown green spirit bamboo shoots can also grow better. After doing all this, Zhou Daoqing returned to the underground cave and embedded the luminous stone in the soil above his head. The narrow space lit up and was not so dark and depressing. Sitting next to the spiritual spring, with the purple and green bamboos swaying slightly behind him, the quiet environment is very suitable for practicing with concentration, and the originally impetuous heart gradually calms down, as the Wu Tu Kun Yugong is running. The rich spiritual energy is swallowed into the body and transformed into condensed Wu Tu magic power, and the strength slowly increases. After only practicing for a quarter of an hour, Zhou Daoqing felt that his strength has improved a lot, which is equivalent to the effect of practicing for several hours at ordinary times. Feeling the improvement of strength, Zhou Daoqing closed his eyes and practiced, but he was thinking in his heart, according to this practice speed, it will only take about 3 months to successfully break through to the middle stage of the 7th level of Qi refining. By then, my strength will increase greatly, and I will just go to Baihefang city to replenish some resources for practice. At present, he lacks a lot of resources. For example, to arrange the formation, a large amount of formation materials are needed, and some first-level low-grade and first-level middle-grade materials need to be prepared. For safety reasons, some concealment formations, defensive formations, and offensive formations need to be arranged to ensure the safety of this underground cave. In addition, some high-quality spiritual plant seeds should be purchased, preferably first-grade upper-quality spiritual plants, similar to the green spirit bamboo. After all, with the spiritual spring high-quality spiritual fields are no longer a problem. It is completely possible to plant some first-grade upper-quality or even second-grade lower-quality spiritual plants in the underground cave to increase one's income. As for the 8 acres of spiritual fields on the island, Zhou Daoqing has also made new plans. First of all, if you want to improve the quality of the spiritual fields now, you don't need to use the gathering spirit formation anymore. You can directly use the spiritual spring water for irrigation, which is not only faster, but also better in quality. He plans to upgrade all 8 acres of spiritual fields to the first-grade middle quality, so that they can be used to plant first-grade middle quality spiritual plants in the future. 3 acres of them are planted with moon grass to make moon wine. 1 acre of Yuehua grass can generate 500 spiritual stones in a year, and 3 acres can generate 1,500 spiritual stones. Not only can it easily achieve the annual income target, but it can also generate 200 spiritual stones for personal use. As for the remaining 5 acres of spiritual fields, they can be used to grow other spiritual plants, such as spiritual grains and other resources needed for cultivation. As for the spirit gathering array, it can be moved to the underground cave to assist in daily cultivation. At the same time, it can make the spiritual energy in the cave more condensed, reduce the dispersion of spiritual energy, and further enhance the concentration of spiritual energy. With the effect of the spirit gathering array, the speed of absorbing spiritual energy is faster, and Zhou Daoqing also devotes himself to cultivation. Time flies, and 3 months have passed in a flash. Zhou Daoqing slowly converged the breath around him, and his breathing was extremely long. The Wu Earth spiritual energy condensed around him had a strong oppressive force. Middle stage of Qi refining level 7. What a fast speed! If you practice at this speed, it will only take about 2 years to break through to the 8th level of Qi refining. Of course, this is when the bottleneck is successfully broken through. If you are stuck at the peak of Qi refining level 7 and cannot break through, it will also waste a lot of time. However, if this situation really happens, perhaps the Sun and Moon Sutra can play a big role. Zhou Daoqing felt the strong power in his body and was quite satisfied. Although he only had the strength of the 7th level of Qi refining, with the high-quality Wu Earth mana of the Wu Earth Kun Yugong, even the 8th level of Qi refining could not break his defense. It's time to go to Baihefang city. There is still too little training resources, otherwise the strength can be improved. Zhou Daoqing sighed, stood up, and checked the situation in the underground cave. Under the faint luminous stone, the spiritual spring was still gurgling with spring water, and wisps of white spiritual energy were floating in the air, and were gathered by the gathering spirit array and confined within the scope of the cave. The purple spiritual bamboo was also growing vigorously, and its quality was slightly improved. The newly grown bamboo shoots were bigger, surrounded by a faint purple air, about the height of a palm. It won't take long for these green bamboo shoots to grow into green bamboo, and the bamboo forest will be completely expanded. After looking around, Zhou Daoqing muttered to himself, the area of this underground space is still a little small. When I come back, I can expand it and open up bedrooms, formation rooms, planting rooms, etc. However, at present, the most important task is to go to Baihefang city. Zhou Daoqing took out a small bottle, filled a bottle of spiritual spring from the spiritual spring, and stuffed it into the storage bag he carried with him. This kind of undiluted spiritual spring water with extremely rich spiritual energy is very valuable in the market. In addition to improving the speed of cultivation and irrigating high-quality spiritual fields, it can also be used in the process of alchemy and refining to slightly increase the success rate. Whenever it appears in the market, it will inevitably cause a rush to buy it. It is a natural treasure that is in short supply. Now Zhou Daoqing is short of money. If he really can't make ends meet, he has to rely on selling spiritual spring liquid to get spiritual stones. Chapter 18 Baihefang City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After collecting the spiritual spring liquid, Zhou Daoqing returned to the island along the passage. He first checked the Xuanhuan wine brewed earlier. After 3 months of precipitation, the wine aroma began to appear, but the quality was not yet at its best. However, Zhou Daoqing was not prepared to wait any longer and planned to sell it directly for spiritual stones. If the Xuanhuan wine can be exchanged for enough spiritual stones, it is better not to show the spiritual spring liquid as much as possible. Otherwise, it is too dangerous with my strength. If someone with ulterior motives targets me, I am afraid that I will be killed. Zhou Daoqing was secretly alert and had made a decision in his heart. Unless it is absolutely necessary, you must not show that you have spiritual spring water in front of everyone. After counting the 30 jars of Xuanhuan wine and putting them all in the storage bag, he rode away from the island. Half a month's journey passed in a flash. Because it was the first time to go there and I was not familiar with the route, I was delayed for a few days on the road and arrived at Baihefang city for nearly 20 days. Zhou Daoqing came in a hurry, looking at the tall and simple bluestone city wall in front of him, with traces of historical erosion, as if it had come across a long time. Solemn and prosperous, on the tall and majestic city gate, there were 4 heavy and gilded characters, Baihefang City. After paying a spirit stone, Zhou Daoqing walked into the market, and saw shops lined up on both sides of the street, with all kinds of shops, teahouses, wine shops, pill shops, magic weapon pavilions, all compactly arranged together. The sound of discussion, hawking, shouting, was endless, showing the prosperity here everywhere. Zhou Daoqing adhered to the principle of being careful and low-key, walked cautiously on the street, and looked around at the shops here. The main purpose of this visit was to buy materials, but the premise of buying materials was to have spirit stones. So the most urgent thing was to sell Yuehua brewing and raise a sum of spirit stones first. There were many restaurants here, and there were a lot of people bustling and the atmosphere was hot and noisy, but this was not Zhou Daoqing's goal. Large restaurants like this, although they have a great demand for alcoholic beverages, are unlikely to purchase idle spiritual wines. They have special suppliers or can brew spiritual wines themselves, so Zhou Daoqing went straight to a grocery store. The store was not big and there were not many people, but the store looked very old, so it seemed that there were many stores. What do you need, sir? Do you need to buy cultivation resources or sell materials? The shopkeeper smiled and asked enthusiastically. Zhou Daoqing did not say much, and took out a small pot of Yuehua wine and handed it over. The other party understood, took the wine pot calmly, sniffed it carefully, and his expression changed slightly. First grade, middle grade spirit wine. The quality is pretty good, and the spiritual energy is also sufficient. Do you plan to sell it? Give me an estimate. Although this spirit wine is of good quality, the taste is not mellow enough. I think it has just been brewed. How about 1 caddy for 4 low-grade spirit stones? Zhou Daoqing frowned and snorted coldly. This price is too low. Even the most ordinary first-grade middle-grade spirit wine can be sold for 5 per caddy. A low-grade spirit stone, a high-quality one, can be sold for 10 spirit stones. Why is it that I only have 4 spirit stones? The old shopkeeper smiled and patiently explained, young friend, you don't know that this kind of scattered spirit wine brewed at home is not easy to sell because of the small quantity and unknown materials, so the price is indeed lower. Zhou Daoqing's expression was slightly relieved. He also understood this situation. Spirit wine is like elixir. If it has a long history and comes from a big store with a reputation guarantee, it will naturally sell better. But if it is an elixir made by a small family, even the elixir formula is not clear, and there may be problems after taking it, so the price will naturally be lower. Zhou Daoqing thought for a while and said, if I supply this kind of spirit wine for a long time, and the quality will be better in the future, can we negotiate the price? Long-term supply. The old man pondered for a moment and asked, how much spirit wine do you have? How much can you provide every year in the future? I have 30 caddies now, and I can supply 300 caddies every year in the future. Zhou Daoqing was straightforward. 300 caddies was the amount he could guarantee, and he could even have some left for himself. 300 caddies. The old man was shocked and raised his voice slightly, as if he didn't expect Zhou Daoqing to provide such a large amount. Young friend, you are not joking. Of course. The old shopkeeper fell into deep thought again, and after a long time, he said, this time I will buy it at the price of 5 spirit stones per caddy. If you can really supply 300 caddies of spirit wine every year in the future, and the quality is better, I will buy it at a higher price. How about it? No problem. Zhou Daoqing knew that doing business should be viewed from a long-term perspective. There is no need to be too fussy in the early stage. Sustainable development is the key. After the two sides reached an agreement, Zhou Daoqing sold all 30 kilograms of Yuehua wine, and exchanged for a total of 150 low-grade spirit stones. Then, Zhou Daoqing went directly to the material shop. This time, he planned to buy 3 sets of array materials, namely the cloud array, the falling stone array, and the earth defense array. The quality of the 3 arrays is all first-level low-grade, providing the effects of concealment, attack, and defense respectively, and the effect is better when used together. Moreover, before leaving, he had calculated in advance that the price of materials for these 3 arrays is generally lower than that of the spirit gathering array, and only 120 low-grade spirit stones are needed in total. Although prices will fluctuate, the difference will not be very large. For safety reasons, Zhou Daoqing went to 3 material shops separately and purchased the required materials separately. In the end, he consumed 125 spirit stones, which was a little more than the budget, but still within an acceptable range. The remaining 25 spiritual stones can just be used to buy seeds. When Zhou Daoqing came to the spiritual plant seed shop, he looked at the dazzling array of seeds, which had many qualities and types, and different uses and values. He couldn't help but feel a little entangled. At present, he has many channels to earn spiritual stones. On the one hand, he can sell Xuanhuan wine, on the other hand, he can also sell some diluted spiritual spring liquid, and even after he is familiar with the formation, he can sell the formation plate. Therefore, when choosing spiritual plants, he doesn't need to consider the income of spiritual stones, but only needs to choose spiritual plants that can help improve his strength. After all, for now, the foundation of everything is still strength. If you can't build a foundation, your future prospects will inevitably be limited. After a careful selection, Zhou Daoqing set his sights on 3 kinds of seeds. The first one, Jingyu Lingmi, is a first-grade upper-grade spiritual grain. It is crystal clear like jade and rich in extremely strong spiritual energy. If a cultivator in the Qi training period eats it for a long time, it can effectively improve the speed of cultivation. The second type is the earth essence grass, a first-grade, earth-attributed spiritual grass with a relatively rich earth-attributed energy, which can assist the cultivation speed of earth-attributed cultivators. If it grows in an area with rich spiritual energy, it may also bloom and bear fruit, and grow more precious earth essence fruits, which will be of great help to improve your strength in the future. Chapter 19 Crystal Jade Rice and Ink Pattern Lotus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The third type, the black patterned lotus, this is not a first-level seed, but a second-level medium-quality spiritual plant. Both its quality and value far exceed those of other spiritual plants, and it has many uses. After the black patterned lotus matures, its lotus petals are dried and ground into powder. Combined with other spices, it can be made into a second-level tranquilizing incense, which has the effect of calming the mind and calming the spirit. The black patterned lotus root is a high-quality alchemy material. It is used in several second-level alchemy recipes and is very expensive. Even if it is not sold, the black patterned lotus root is also a spiritual plant with a very high spiritual content. It is very helpful for the cultivation of water-attributed cultivators in the foundation building period. If it is taken by water-attributed cultivators in the Qi training period, it is very likely to directly break through the realm. Finally, there are black patterned lotus seeds, which are the most precious material of the black patterned lotus. It is not only the seeds of the black patterned lotus, but also an extremely expensive material. However, Zhou Daoqing is not clear about the specific function. It is also a surprise to be able to find the seeds of the black patterned lotus here. Logically speaking, such extremely precious seeds cannot be sold in seed shops. Once they appear, they will be snapped up immediately, but this black lotus seed is very special. Zhou Daoqing saw the abnormality in it with just one look. Senior, the vitality of this black lotus seed has been exhausted and it is almost completely dead. Why are you still selling it here? Upon hearing this, the shop owner was immediately unhappy. His originally kind face immediately became serious, and he said unhappily, "Just tell me whether this seed is completely dead?" With only this little vitality left, the probability of germination is less than 1 in 10,000, right? The shop owner snorted coldly. Since there is still a trace of vitality, there must be a possibility of successful planting. Besides, if such a precious spiritual plant is really intact, do you think you can see it here? Zhou Daoqing also shook his head helplessly, thinking that he was still greedy. How can a bargain be so easy to be greedy? However, when he thought of owning the spiritual spring eye, Zhou Daoqing still couldn't help but be moved. If it is in a normal environment, this black pattern lotus seed can't germinate and mature, but if it is directly planted in the second-level spiritual spring, the probability of recovery should increase by several %. Thinking of this, Zhou Daoqing already had some ideas in his mind, but he didn't speak directly, but turned his attention to other seeds on the side. How much are the seeds of Jingyu Lingmi and Jingtu grass? Jingyu Lingmi seeds, 20 low-grade spiritual stones per bag, Jingtu grass seeds, 30 low-grade spiritual stones per bag. Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but take a breath of cold air after hearing this. This price is really expensive. With the remaining spiritual stones, he can only buy a pack of Jingyu Lingmi seeds. After some bargaining, the shopkeeper still refused to give in, which made Zhou Daoqing a little helpless. In the end, both sides took a step back. Zhou Daoqing bought Jingyu Lingmi seeds with 20 spiritual stones, and added 5 low-grade spiritual stones to take the only black pattern lotus seed with weak vitality. The shopkeeper was selling this weak black lotus seed with a try-and-see attitude. If someone is really interested, he can make some money. If he can't sell it, he can just throw it away. After all, if there is a chance to grow black lotus, he would have grown it himself long ago, and it is definitely impossible to sell it. After using up all the spiritual stones on him, Zhou Daoqing did not stay any longer, and left Baihefang market directly and returned to Belan Lake. After a month, there was not much change on the island. Of the 8 acres of spiritual fields, 3 acres have been planted with moon grass, which has grown well under the nurturing of the first-level middle-grade spiritual field, lush and full of vitality, and the yield has increased a lot compared to the previous planting in the first level. Low-grade spiritual field. As for the remaining 5 acres of spiritual fields, no crops were planted, but with the rich spiritual energy, some weeds have grown. After Zhou Daoqing cleaned it up, he turned the soil again and watered it with a batch of diluted spiritual springs to maintain the concentration of spiritual energy in the spiritual field. He did not raise the quality of the spiritual field to the first grade upper grade. It was not that he could not do it, but it was too conspicuous to greatly improve the quality of the spiritual field in a short period of time. If it was 8 acres of first grade middle grade spiritual field, Zhou Daoqing had room for explanation last time. He could say that he bought the spiritual liquid to irrigate it, which was barely justifiable, but if there was 8 acres of first-grade upper-grade spiritual field, it would be really unreasonable. So, after raising the spiritual energy of the spiritual field to the peak of first-grade middle-grade, Zhou Daoqing carefully sowed the first-grade upper-grade crystal jade spiritual rice. Although the quality of this spiritual rice reached the first-grade upper-grade, it could barely grow in the first-grade middle-grade spiritual field, but the growth rate and yield would be slightly reduced. In theory, 1 packet of seeds can sow 1 acre of crystal jade spiritual rice. But because the quality of the spiritual field was not good enough, Zhou Daoqing scattered this packet of seeds in 5 acres of spiritual field to make up for the lack of quality of the spiritual field. However, if the diluted spiritual spring is often watered in the future to maintain the rich spiritual energy in the spiritual field, the crystal jade spiritual rice should also grow well, and the harvest will not be reduced too much. When the number of seeds increases in the future, we can continue to expand the scale of planting. As for the seeds of the black pattern lotus, Zhou Daoqing did not throw them directly into the spiritual spring, because the sudden change in the environment may cause the seeds to die directly. Therefore, Zhou Daoqing was more careful, scooped out a bowl of spiritual spring liquid with a stone bowl, and then extracted some nutrient solution full of vitality from the leaves of the green bamboo and added it to it. The spiritual spring only has rich spiritual energy, while the leaves of the green spiritual bamboo have relatively rich vitality, and the two work better together. Then, put the seeds in it and place them on a stone between the purple-green spiritual bamboo and the spiritual spring. After doing all this, Zhou Daoqing also breathed a sigh of relief. Do your best and leave it to fate. It depends on your own luck in the future. He has done everything he can. If he still can't make this seed germinate, then it can only be said that it is fate and he has no chance of this blessing. Next, Zhou Daoqing's life became simple and boring, and his daily life rhythm was fixed. In addition to daily practice, it is necessary to irrigate the spiritual field every day to maintain the concentration of spiritual energy in the spiritual field, and add spiritual springs to the black pattern lotus to check its growth. In addition, it is to continue to learn the content of the formation and try to arrange 3 formations. The arrangement of the cloud and mist formation is the simplest. Zhou Daoqing only took a few days to easily learn it and successfully arrange it. A faint mist shrouds the underground cave, adding a mysterious and ethereal atmosphere to this secret and quiet space. At the same time, the weak monsters in the surrounding soil and lake water will be blocked by the mist and cannot find this underground cave, which increases the safety here. Chapter 20, Expanding the Training Cave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The second formation to be arranged is the Earth Defense Formation, although the difficulty is slightly increased. After all, after practicing the Wu Tu Kun Yu Gong, the control of the earth attribute is stronger and the understanding is more thorough, so it is easier to arrange, but at this time, Zhou Daoqing faced a new problem. That is, the underground cave is too narrow and there is not enough space to arrange the earth defense formation, so Zhou Daoqing could only dig up the hard soil around, and expand several rooms outward without destroying the overall soil structure. These additional spaces can not only be used to arrange formations, but also to increase the daily living area. In the core area closest to the spiritual spring, Zhou Daoqing left it all to the purple air green spirit bamboo and black pattern lotus. The quality of these two spiritual plants is high enough and suitable for growing in an environment with high spiritual energy concentration. In the future, if you encounter other second-level spiritual plants, you can also plant them near the spiritual spring. The surrounding soil quality is very high. It is a natural spiritual field and can grow a lot of crops, or some spiritual fish, spiritual clams, spiritual shrimps, etc. If they can be cultivated in the diluted spring water of the spiritual spring, they can also bring a considerable income, or use it yourself, which is also very beneficial to the improvement of strength. At the edge of the underground cave of the spiritual spring, closest to the central area, Zhou Daoqing opened a practice room of about 20 square meters, with a concentration of spiritual energy at the peak of the first grade upper grade. If you practice directly next to the spiritual spring, the concentration of spiritual energy is as high as the second grade, which is too high for Zhou Daoqing to absorb. The concentration of spiritual energy of the first grade upper grade is also very rich, and it is absorbed faster, which is more beneficial to the improvement of strength. Therefore, practicing in this range is also the final choice of Zhou Daoqing after careful consideration, multiple tests and measurements. Next to the training room, several other types of rooms were added, for example, a warehouse for storing daily necessities and training resources, a small spiritual field for growing crops, a bedroom for rest, a cellar for brewing Xuanhuan wine, a formation room for learning formations. Almost on the original basis, another circle of rooms was added around the underground cave space, expanding the overall area a lot. In this way, there is enough space to arrange the formation. As the earth defense formation was arranged, the yellow spiritual energy emerged, slowly condensed under the power of the formation pattern, and distributed around the underground cave in a translucent state. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult to detect the existence of the formation. Only when outsiders enter this atmosphere will they be directly excluded by the earth defense formation. The last falling rock formation is also a formation of earth attribute, and Zhou Daoqing already has experience, so it is not very difficult to arrange it. When the three formations completely covered the underground cave, Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and a sense of security came naturally. And the heart that had been hanging for a long time was also put down. At the same time, the blessing of the three new formations not only enhances the safety of the underground cave, but also makes the spiritual energy more concentrated, so that the concentration of spiritual energy here is higher and not easy to be discovered by others. When Zhou Daoqing finished all this and was about to practice, the communication stone in his arms suddenly rang. "Hey, is the second grandfather here?" Zhou Daoqing's eyes moved, and he stood up and left the underground cave, returned to the island, and rode to Zhou Daobai's island. The second elder Zhou Changping led the hunting team out hunting. He happened to pass by Balan Lake and came to check by the way. While letting the team rest, he also brought some family news that needed to be informed to the three people. This is actually normal. The communication stone has a range limit. It cannot be used beyond a certain range. Therefore, Zhou Daoqing and the other two have been unable to communicate with the family for a long time. If there is important information, it can only be conveyed through the second elder Zhou Changping. It happened that the second elder was hunting in the nearby area and occasionally passed by here, which was more convenient. Zhou Daoqing did not dare to delay and rowed a small boat to the island in the center of Balan Lake. When they arrived, the second elders Zhou Changping and Zhao Yunji were already on the island. Second elder Zhou Daoqing greeted respectfully. Zhou Changping stroked his graying beard and smiled. "Haha, Daoqing is here too. I haven't seen you three for a few months. It seems that you three are very busy. I see that crops have been planted on Yunji and Daobai Islands. It seems that everyone has their own ideas for future development." Zhou Daobai, Zhao Yunji, and Zhou Daoqing all scratched their heads and smiled. Although it was not a life-and-death competition, after all, they took on the task of the head of the family and were stationed in an important resident of the family. Naturally, they had to do their best to strive to earn more wealth for the family. So the three of them also tried their best. When sailing over, Zhou Daoqing had passed by Zhao Yunji's island and saw from a distance that several mulberry trees had been transplanted on it. With just a slight guess, he had guessed Zhao Yunji's idea. Zhao Yunji's Zhao family has a silkworm breeding technique, which can use silk to make a high-quality magic weapon. This kind of inner lining robe is thin and tough, not only comfortable to wear, but also has strong defensive power. It is well known in the market and is often in short supply. The Zhao family also relied on this technology to quickly become rich and stand out among the qi refining families in a short period of time, but later, the siege of the Ma family caused the Zhao family's business to plummet, so that the income dropped sharply. Now, Zhao Yunji can bring this technology to the Zhou family, which is definitely a pleasant surprise. At the same time, it can also be seen that Zhao Yunji is determined, which is to show his attitude to the Zhou family. If this technology can be used to harvest a large amount of spiritual stones for the Zhou family, Zhao Yunji's status in the Zhou family will also rise accordingly. For a family, such precious and unique technologies have extraordinary value and significance. It is definitely not easy for Zhao Yunji to take the initiative to take them out. It is even possible that this behavior will offend the Zhao family behind her and make her be stabbed in the back by the Zhao family. Zhou Daoqing believes that Zhou Changping, the second elder of the family, has a more thorough understanding of these principles, so he is so happy. As for his eldest brother Zhou Daobai, Zhou Daoqing saw when he landed on the island that the more than 10 acres of spiritual fields on the island had been irrigated into first-level medium-quality spiritual fields and planted with an unknown spiritual plant. Although it is not certain what kind of species it is, the value is beyond doubt and it will definitely not be too low. Zhou Daoqing couldn't help but sigh that if he hadn't found a spiritual spring eye and had no formation to assist, he would probably not be as good as the other few people. But now, the final result is unknown. At this time, after a few simple greetings, the second elder Zhou Changping also brought the topic back to the content of this time. You have been away for a few months, and you may not know much about the situation at home. Because of Yunji's incident, the Ma family has officially declared war on the Zhou family, and the action is not small.